Hey guys and welcome back to another What If here. Today we are doing part 5 to What If Naruto got a second chance but as a girl remake. If you're know what happened in the last part, you're going to have to watch it. And yeah, of course, if you're new to this series, lucky for you, there is a link in the description down below which will take you to the playlist where you can see part 1, 2, 3, 4 and of course this part 5, and any other future part that will be added into the series. And yes, as this is of course a late upload, as I generally upload at 12 o'clock UK time, so midday for us who live in the UK, it'd be midday. Though the reason why was because the reason why I didn't upload was because I'd gotten too I was interested into a fanfic slash what if. It was a fanfic that somebody had made into a what if, and I'd end up reading the fanfic, and by the time I'd remembered that I had to record, it was a bit too late. So I went, screw it, I'll record tomorrow, because what I wanted to do was, what I'd planned for part 5, this part will probably drag this into 2 hours long, or even longer. So yes. Anyway, guys, let's get into this part. Kakashi would open his eyes as he'd look up to the sky, as he'd then go wide-eyed and cursed, as he was late, so he'd immediately sent in to the Hokage's office, or tower, office. Why? What was he late for, and why did he curse? Well, quite simple. He'd imagined what it'd be like to have Naruto with a team, and that he'd remembered the Hokage telling him that there was, he hadn't paid complete attention, his bad, and he'd felt a bit too guilty to actually ask Hiruzen to repeat himself. So yeah, and he'd thought Hiruzen had said that there were a boy and a girl available, as that sensei had killed the genin there, and the jonin was off in jail. That's what he had thought he had heard, though that was wildly incorrect. Anyway, and yeah, and if you come from last part, wait, but then how did Kakashi know about the Land of Waves? Well, I'll explain later in the what if. Anyway, so Kakashi would arrive being a minute late, as everyone would look at him and go, and one of the jonin would ask, hi, are you okay? Hatake-san, you're never late, ever late. Kashi would apologize. He'd go to the front and would go onto his hands and knees and apologize deeply to Hiruzen, the Hokage, the current Hokage, as Hiruzen would just say that it's no problem and to not worry Kakashi, and that he could, Hiruzen said that you could be late from time to time, just not obviously make it a recurring theme. Though Kakashi, of course, had looked up and had thanked him for obviously not telling him really off or punching him. And yeah, he was gonna go, well, now that everyone's here, well, let's start. So teams so teams 1 through 6 would all fail. He would skip Kakashi, so team 7, as that team or team number was always left for last, as it had the most weight. Why weight? Well, because Team 7 was somewhat a very much legendary kind of team. The Team 7s were the Sanin, the 3 legendary Sanin, and then Mount Minato's squad. Which was obviously Minato as the sensei, then Kakashi, Rin, and Obito. Though of course Obito had died, Rin had died, and Kakashi being the last one alive. And yeah. Anyway, though. Yeah, you'd go, well, here's gonna go, teammate, as Kunai would step up, because being teammate sensei, and she'd say, I, teammate sensei Kunai Yuki, pass Kiba, would pass Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Aburame, and damn it, I can't remember his name now. Shino Aburame. I can't say his name now. Oh well. All 3 pass. Who's a Midnight and Co. Team 10. Team 10 Sensei would step up as he'd go, I, Team 10's Sensei. I forgot his name now. Damn it. Go, I, Team 10 Sensei Asuma Saratobi, pass Shikamaru, Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka. All 3 pass. Here's a midnight and go, well then, Kakashi, you're the last one. Does your team pass? Does all 3 of your teammates, does all 3 of your Genin team pass? Kakashi would say, well, I, Team 7 Sensei Hatake Kakashi, fail. Sakura Hano and Sasuke Uchiha, I pass. Naruto Uzumaki. Everyone would stare at Kakashi in surprise. Even Hiruzen, as well, he'd had an inkling Naruto had been holding back her abilities throughout the academy. But yeah, he was, or at least sure that Kakashi had passed maybe 2 of them, maybe even all 3. But to fail 2 and only pass 1, well, that was very rare, and Kakashi must have had a very damn good reason. You would look at Kakashi and go, why? Kakashi, have you only passed 1? Well, you see, okay, I guess well, I feel like, in my opinion, that Naruto somewhat deserves to, in my opinion, to become a Genin more than Sasuke and more than Sasuke and Sakura deserve. And this is why when we started the test, I'd made 2 shadow clones as Naruto's ability to hide her stealth ability, so far beyond Arnbu level. I could not track her at all, so I'd made two standalones to watch Sasuke and Sakura, one each, and that whichever one Naruto would go to would, if she'd leave them, would then pop to tell me that, to give me the information. And she'd first went to Sakura to ask her to team up with her. Sakura told her that she didn't need no help from the dead last, and that she, obviously being the dead last, was just that a dead last absolutely useless, according to what Sakura, and that's what Sakura told her, and Naruto said, well, okay, and left. And of course I knew this because my clone had popped once she'd left. A couple of minutes later, she then went to Sasuke, and I just put Sakura under a Genjutsu, and that's the thing that, everyone's read Sakura's, about Sakura, right? Everyone would say hi. And here's I would look at Kakashi, like, well, go on, and Kakashi would go, well, in the report that it stated that Sakura was, somewhat obviously very smart, and as such was very good at detecting Genjutsu. Well, that was just BS, as I put her under a Genjutsu, of course, and the Genjutsu was a D rank Genjutsu, and she passed out from it. If she's good at detecting and dispelling Genjutsu, then I'm pretty sure that means she should be able to detect and dispel D rank Genjutsus. Yeah. Genjutsus. Illusionary. And everyone would be surprised that her report was wildly incorrect, made up. And Kakashi would go on to say that when she's put on a team with Sasuke, she's practically useless. She fangirls all over the Uchiha and is absolutely useless. Her mind goes, who knows where it goes, it just vaporizes. As what she could care about is looking pretty for the Uchiha. And yeah. And here's how about Sasuke, how did he do? Well, Naruto had went to him and had asked for help. Sasuke had shut down more violently, though. He'd said, why would I need the help from a dead last? Like, you're the dead last, you can't do nothing, you barely passed, you're useless. And so she had then somewhat left, and I presume she'd watched both Sakura and Sasuke. As once, of course, I'd left Sakura when she'd passed out. I'd left a shadow clone. I'd made another shadow clone and left it there, so that obviously if Naruto were to come back after Sakura had, say, gone through the battle, gone through against me, and had maybe awoken that, hey, I can't, and yes, I do need some help, even though you may be the dead last, hey, could you? Because after all, titles mean nothing, and that she could have very much been hiding her abilities, and that, well, I'd say the Academy's curriculum is, well, shite, Hakari-sama, because whilst most people would think, oh, you don't really need stealth until you're tuning or droning, well, what about the C ranks that they occasionally go on and start doing more and more until they get promoted to tuning? Well, what about the stealth required for those? If they can't grade them on stealth, well, then yeah, stealth is somewhat becomes more and more important the higher your rank is. It's still important even as a genin to know. Here's somewhat just not and go, well, okay then. And well, as I'd somewhat spied against Sasuke, more toyed around with him, seeing if he could very much, because he's the so-called the best, and so though he's practically gives into anger immediately, he's I guess okay in trap making. He has no, I say he has almost zero skill in trap making, unlike Naruto, of course, with her abilities of doing pranks and that. Thus, of course, the traps from the pranks have obviously got her to at least, well, I don't know, I haven't tested her, really, and I will explain why. Anyway, so I had pretty much used the headhunter jutsu on Sasuke so that he was bowed up to his head, and I'd made a shadow clone Richard, and that had watched over Sasuke, and before I could even go back to the somewhat stand position, my clone had already popped, giving me the information on what and that Naruto did apparently try to, but failed once again to get Sakura to work with her, though this time Sakura more violently shut her down, stating that why would a somewhat loser like her wouldn't be able to stand up to Kakashi, and that when she gets to Sasuke, they'd pass and she'd be sent back to the academy as the effing loser that she is. Everyone would be somewhat stunned at that, and Naruto, and of course once I'd gotten that, I'd thought Naruto had either cried or had tried killing her. Nope, Naruto just went, okay, fine, I won't help you then, and she'd walked off. I then went to Sakura and knocked her out for the rest of the match, being somewhat furious on, obviously, Sakura's outcome. And what Sakura had said, that is no way to treat a fellow teammate, and that's why I have failed her. Though now to Sasuke. She had, once I had knocked out Sakura, like a couple of seconds later, she was with Sasuke. Sasuke had presumed had pulled himself up out of the ground, though as my clone had popped once Naruto had left and he was still in the ground. Did someone know and go, well, what did Sasuke say? Well, he was slightly more violent in a way, as he'd said, I don't need like an effing loser like you, the dead last, to help me. I almost got the bells from our sensei, and you've done absolutely nothing except for ask me to work in a team with you effing dead last. And yeah, Kakashi couldn't somewhat finish that, though. Yeah, once my clone had somewhat popped, I went straight for Kakashi. Not Kakashi, I went straight for Sasuke and knocked him out for the rest of the match. By the time I'd gotten back to the starting position to where I'd started, Naruto was sitting there in the ground. I'd then grabbed a kunai just in case it was a fake of some sort. And well, when I came up to her, or as I pulled up my kunai and started walking towards her, she'd sensed me, she told me that she knew I was behind her and to put the kunai away, that was not needed, because what's the point of trying when both your teammates aren't going to work with you? So I decided to put my kunai away and sat down next to her, and while we'd somewhat started talking and had somewhat gotten lost kind of in the past, and while the bell had went, she'd gotten up to turn it off, and I'd told her that she'd somewhat fed because she didn't get the bells. She then asked me, what do you mean? Oh, you mean, as she'd pulled out and showed me these bells, sensei, and yeah. And she then told me that when I'd kind of just gotten lost in the past, the second I had gotten lost in the past, she'd cut the bells. And yeah, so that's somewhat why I feel like she should pass. Was true, I didn't really get to exactly test her in taijutsu or that taijutsu or ninjutsu, but being able to obviously even just get the bells and obviously do a situation where she's obviously listened, and instead of say imagining and getting lost in the past with me, imagining what it may have been like for obviously me somewhat growing up, instead she'd managed to stay obviously listening but also get the bells, follow through on what the task was, which was to get the bells to pass. And yeah, and that's somewhat why I passed her, as it shows she very much is obviously very much aware of her surroundings. Even when listening to someone, she never once gets, say, focused or hyper focused on one person. She's focused all throughout the surrounding area, and everyone would be surprised at that. And yeah, it very much shows and that she is a very good sensory ninja, and that she's very much obviously smart. She knows what she's doing to get a winning situation without really showing too much of her skills, because after all, she didn't know if she'd be passing, going back to the academy, so there was no point showing any real abilities if she was just going to be sent back to the academy. And he was going to just nod and said, well, hearing that, I wholeheartedly agree with you. It shows that obviously, she had thought, well, there's no point in showing really any of my true skills, because I don't know, obviously she probably thought that she didn't know if she'd be able to pass, and so she decided to go with the tactic of getting into one's mind and getting a winning situation out like that. And actually, well, everyone would just somewhat nod. It was kind of amazing to see a genin with that type of intelligence. The Naras were smart, but they never thought that much, that far ahead. They generally always would think of a winning situation that used, say, obviously their teammates to help out. They never tried using their own brains to get into somebody else's head and to produce a winning situation like that. And so that obviously she's quite she's quite very a very good ninja. And, yeah. Here's a midnight and go, well then. Well, obviously, well, you can go, well, okay, well, now that I know which ones have passed and failed, these all are dismissed. As everyone except for Kakashi would leave, he would, once everyone had left, he'd look at Kakashi and go, I said that. Hi, Hokage-sama, I know, though I'm somewhat wondering about the two Genin that you said that had lost a that teammate. As I was wondering if they'd be available as Hizen would realise what Kakashi was asking and go, I'm sorry Kakashi, but they had been assigned to a new team last week. Kakashi would go, I see. As Hizen would go, and while also Kakashi, you wasn't exactly paying full attention on that day, was you? As Kakashi would go, I'm sorry, Hokage-sama. Hizen would just shake his head and go, it's fine, Kakashi, just if you say don't exactly either understand what I'm saying or say didn't exactly obviously hear what I said, then ask me to repeat myself. It's fine. It's just annoying that people don't do that and then end up causing more issues. Not Nato Kakashi would just somewhat nod. And well, so for one, well, there, Sensei, well, what did you think I said firstly? Well, I thought you said that, well, there was 3 Genin, 2, 1 male, 1 female, and that the third teammate, a male Genin, had died due to that Jonin Sensei killing them, and that the Jonin Sensei had gone to jail. Hizen would just look at him and go, you've got one very good imagination, Hatake Kakashi, as that is completely incorrect. As Kakashi go, it is. That it is. What I had said was that the teammate had died because the 2 teammates that were alive were 2 males, and that the one that was alive was the one that died was a female, because that female woman was a spy for Orochimaru and had died on transit to Tiendai to get information out of her about Orochimaru. She had decided to kill herself so that any information about Orochimaru would die with her. Kakashi would go, oh, I see. And yeah. Okay, and go, well, is there anything else, Kakashi? Yeah. If I remember correctly, is it that if say a new Genin team, say completes 100 D ranks within the first month of them becoming a Genin, if I remember rightly, does that mean that they'll be able, obviously they'll be able to do like a minimum of 1 C rank a month from that point onwards? Hizen would nod and go, yes, that is correct. So I presume that you're planning on somewhat getting Naruto to get like you and Naruto getting for her first month as a Genin, just doing enough D ranks to rank up to 100 D ranks by the end of the month. Hi, Hokage-sama. Hizen would go, okay then, well, if there's anything else, is there anything else? No, Hokage-sama. Well then, you may leave, Kakashi. Kakashi is not done with sensing out. The next day, Naruto would arrive at Training Ground 7 at around 7:59 in the morning, a minute before 8 o'clock. And she would somewhat look around, not seeing Sasuke or Sakura. She'd thought that Kakashi was only playing with her and that, or like only somewhat joking around and that. He'd in fact, after passing her and told them that they'd failed, had catched up to them once they'd all left and had actually told them that they'd passed and to meet him here at 8 o'clock. But seeing that those two aren't here, yeah, it seems like Kakashi did in fact fail them. And she would then go to Kakashi and he could obviously she was a bit she didn't exactly she was obviously like curious as Kakashi would go well today Naruto, so while we're here instead of doing missions, well today Hokage-sama had asked me, once he'd somewhat dismissed me, then remembered that he'd wanted to tell me something and had pretty much had to catch up with me. Though he had told me that today he obviously wanted me to probably obviously get an idea of your skills, so taijutsu and your taijutsu and taijutsu, ninjutsu and genjutsu abilities. Though I presume you probably can't cast genjutsu, but at least your abilities to dispel them. Naruto would just go and would think, and Sensei, yes, Naruto-chan, Naruto-chan, do you mind if I somewhat say when we do say taijutsu, can we do that first, and can I somewhat change my outfit a bit as we go through? Sure. Do you have do you have like different other ninja outfits? Naruto would shake her head and go, well, no. What I want to try and actually see and see how I actually fare against someone in kind of more restrictive clothing. Oh, and why is that? Well, what happens, say, like in the future, maybe a couple of weeks or months from now, we get a mission from GG that is, say that he's sending us to the mission cards are to we go to a say royal maybe dance party, banquet, whatever, in, and like that I was supplying the say high quality clothing, and obviously the dresses or the suit for you, dress for me would be obviously quite restrictive, and well obviously if we were to somewhat send say bandits or CB rank mission ninja say attack, then obviously I would need to be able to fight without kind of ripping say the dress, and obviously if say by the end of it say I managed to keep it say completely intact or get maybe a cut or two on it, it's not, it'd be maybe more willing to say ask for us again, because whilst the dress and or suit was obviously very much fixable, the maybe say million, maybe even billion value dress and suit that we may be wearing, obviously, like, because instead of being, say, completely ruined, it's very much fixable, or maybe like it's completely intact, no damage whatsoever. And obviously that would show us that we're a lot more professional, and as such, they may be a lot more willing to ask for our assistance again, because obviously it shows that we're more professional. We're obviously, I don't exactly know the right words for it, but better, better trained, more well trained. Yeah, and Kakashi would go think about it. I would be kind of surprised, as in reality these missions were not really that rare. Most Genin, especially female Genin, so Kunoichi, actually thought these types of missions were somewhat relatively rare, but in reality they weren't. They were a lot more common than what most people actually think of. They're somewhat more common, and yeah, very much Kakashi could actually very much understand. Was surprised she'd trained in any restrictive clothing at all to get some ability to fight in them, and because his answer was yeah, sure, I'd be more than happy to. And so pretty much after and that, well, hours later they'd stopped, as it was somewhat midday and as such lunchtime, and yeah, Nato had gone through somewhat the array of clothing she had, or dresses, going from somewhat her Kunoichi uniform being very little restricted, being very obviously allowing her to be obviously do, say, these splits and move her arms in any direction without breaking or ripping any clothing at all, to the most restrictive clothing she had, where moving her arms slightly forward or moving her arms too far forward could cause it to somewhat split, like rip, and obviously too far back could also cause it to rip, and same for legs. She can't, like, it obviously moving her legs forcefully outwards more to get a better stance and be able to be obviously move them more freely. Yeah, and yeah, Kakashi was very much surprised at how well she fought in restrictive clothing, and that by the time she'd gotten to a very restrictive clothing, that maybe only the daimyo would actually ask them to wear would be her skills went from taijutsu went from high tuning to borderline to somewhat mid borderline high tuning. So it was borderline mid tuning to high tuning, to mid tuning to high tuning. Her taijutsu was meaning that her taijutsu, her hand-to-hand combat, was increasing into the high tuning. Yeah. Anyway. And yeah, and Kakashi, of course, had realised that her chakra, well, anyway, after the break, he'd continued, and thus by the time the sun had started to set, they were somewhat finished. So Kakashi had Kakashi tell her to, I told her that obviously, that was done, and obviously to meet him back here tomorrow for some training. The reason why, was because when obviously after she'd asked him if she could obviously spy in different outfits, Kakashi had explained then why, somewhat obviously why they were here instead of like going out for maybe a mission or two right now. Going out for, taking our first mission, and yeah. After Kakashi had explained that, Hizen had wanted to know obviously her abilities. So, and Naruto then told him, why don't we instead make, say, like a clone of one another and have them do the D ranks instead, whilst me and you right now, say, spar. Kakashi was dumbstruck and had asked how many clones can she make, because Kakashi had realised when she'd said clone, and obviously about our mission and having them sent, it clicked for him. She was meaning shadow clone, and yeah, and it made sense. Her chakra reserves were massive. So yes. Anyway, Kakashi would arrive to the Hokage Tower and would knock on his door. Hiruzen would say enter, and Kakashi, so what is your what is Saint Naruto's abilities? Kakashi would step forward. Well, Kakashi of course would enter and would then answer, saying that Naruto's taijutsu is somewhat, her taijutsu is high tuning, low jonin, like borderline low jonin in taijutsu, and that we had spent we had started that up. We had started fighting around 8 o'clock and it ended at around midday. That was taijutsu. The reason why we took that long was because that she'd wanted to, she'd asked me if she could spy in different clothing as well as and then obviously tell Hiruzen what she'd said, and Hiruzen was obviously surprised that Naruto had thought that far ahead, and yeah, Hiruzen had somewhat not known that many of his tuning before, many of his getting before, and it hacking some tuning, like he's had to pay some of the nobles some money to be able to either to replace or even some repair the, less repair, more kind of replace the kind of cost of the suits or dresses that were that they'd supplied. That is, it was generally in the contract, that mission contract, that if the dresses or suits were damaged to a certain degree, that Konoha would have to pay for the damages done to the dresses and suits. And yeah, and almost barely any teams have come back without damaging any of them. I was quite surprised Naruto had thought that far ahead. Yeah, and Cassie had said, as we went through more and more restrictive dresses that Naruto had bought specifically to train in them, as they were otherwise quite bland, that the most restrictive one she had, which was quite restrictive, and you'd probably only see something like, like the restrictive that type of restrictive clothing she'd managed to get her hand on, which was obviously bland, as I said, would be something that the daimyo, if a daimyo had a party, he'd hand us some of that type of restrictive clothing, and her skills in that were mid-tuning, going from mid tuning to high tuning, and Houston was surprised, and it showed that she had in fact very much trained a lot in restrictive clothing. And yeah, and Cash would follow that up and saying that she'd also had sparred, of course, with different hills on, different types of hills and hill height, like high-heeled shoes on and different heeled heights. Then obviously, it's not just about the dresses, but also the shoes. And obviously, when you're when you're sent on a mission like that, that gonna gives you obviously, for men, nice obviously, shoes that would suit the suit, and obviously for the females, the girls, it'd be high heels, and not being able to fight in them is a somewhat very obviously bad thing. And they were also obviously one of always the reasons why kind of had somewhat obviously repay, or at least definitely always in shoes, because the heels would just snap, and none of them being good or any good in finding heels, because no one did bother to train, and the female getting trained really in fighting in heels. And yeah, don't it seems Naruto did, and it trained in different height of hills, separately from the dresses, to get a better idea. And yeah, anyway, and yeah, here's another go about what about her other skills. Well, ninjutsu is a around low tuning, but that's mainly because of she doesn't have that much variation in that. But yeah, her though chakra control is Anbu level. Hizen would blink Anbu. He would say in sheer surprise, as for someone like Naruto being a Uzumaki, with obviously the genes being active full force, and being the QB's Jinchuriki, the nine-tailed fox's Jinchuriki, it meant her reserves were massive, and as big as, I think, currently the 5 to 6 tails range of massive. And though, of course, what they had forgotten, what they didn't know was, of course, it came from the future and was sent back, and as such, a yin chakra spiritual chakra was obviously a lot higher, due to the fact yin spiritual, yin was somewhat chakra that increased with knowledge. The more knowledgeable you got, the smarter you got, the more yin chakra you produced. And so her chakra reserves, are that of the same size as the nine-tailed fox. And I'm not meaning say half the nine-tailed fox, the full nine-tailed fox. It's the same. Yeah, and plus she's also the Jinchuriki to the full nine-tailed fox. Due to the fact she's a not a full Uzumaki, she's a half Uzumaki, but due to the fact she was born with red hair and her Uzumaki genes being on full force, Minato, when sealing the fox inside of her, had decided to seal the entire fox inside of her, instead of just half of it. Though he had to seal the fox in obviously 2 parts, because he didn't have enough chakra to seal the full 9 tails inside of her, but he could do it in parts. So he'd split the fox into yin and yang, and he'd sealed the yin half first inside of her, then was about to seal the yang half inside of her, though the fox had of course sent its claw through him and Kushina, though he had managed to seal the other half of the fox into her. And yeah, and it was once the fox was fully sealed inside of Naruto, did its memories from the future come back to it. And yeah, that's when it somewhat guilt pretty much wrecked its body as Nato could, well, Minato was gonna die anyway, but Kushina could have at least survived for maybe another 10, 20 years, maybe 30, 40. Maybe she'd live into her 70s, like maybe 60s or 70s before she would die, due to having obviously the fox ripped out of her. Oh well. Anyway, yeah. So reserves were already that of the 9-tailed fox, and she had unbelievable control over that larger reserves. Wow, incredible to obviously Hiruzen, though Hiruzen could only think she had the reserves of the 5 or 6 tails. Anyway, yeah, and Hiruzen would go, why would she need that much control? Barely anyone needs that much control over their reserves, not unless, well, yeah, your train of thought there is somewhat correct, Okage-sama. She's not exactly training into becoming a medic, but she'd say she'd at least somewhat like to be able to heal, like, say, cut, so that, obviously, if I get, say, injured in a battle, obviously, she could then, make a clone, keep on, say, battling with, say, the foe, as her clone then goes and heals me. Hiruzen would just nod and think that was actually quite a somewhat good idea. And due to the fact she had so large a reserves, her chakra would probably barely even take a hit. Healing, obviously, Kakashi hacks, you could probably heal 1,000 people and still be able to throw around A-rank jutsus like they were going out of style or something else like that. And yeah, she could dispel the strongest genjutsu I could put on her, which, well, and it's like, what you used, I couldn't actually use the Sharingan. You couldn't? Why? I found that out yesterday, which was, she came across she'd come across a seal, a seal that a Frinjutsu somewhat array that would block the Sharingan and Byakugan, so pretty much for me to look at her, it's just a blinding light, or just blinding white light, and I'd presume it'd be the same for the Hyugas with their Byakugan active. Hiruzen would go, and why would she do something like that? Well, I'd presume she'd learn how to do that before, just in case, obviously, her teammate would be, obviously, a Uchiha, because, she doesn't want her skills, obviously, being copied in that. And any jutsu she may make herself, obviously, she doesn't want, people stealing them, and that, so she found a seal like that. Hiruzen would go, I see. Well then, though, do you at least know what she's planning on for her skills, what she wants to do? She wants to be an all-rounder in everything. Though what I'm going to at least try and train her at the moment is to get her, say, ninjutsu up to, high tuning to perfectly. I'll get them up to low jonin, and get somewhat her Sorcery, obviously her chakra control. She's gonna continue to do that even in her free time. So yeah. Though I'll probably though, and because she said she'd wanted to be an all-rounder, she'd said that she'd also obviously like to learn Kenjutsu, the art of the sword, or more precisely the art of weapons, as she'd like to be able to use practically every type of weapon there is, or at least be able to say pick up and roughly know how to use the weapon. Hizumi just somewhat nod. So are you? Not right now, Hokage-sama. I'm not exactly looking for a Kenjutsu trainer for Naruto. Not right now, but maybe in the next 2 or 3 months. Yeah, but not right now. Hokage-sama. Hizumi just nod and go. Wow then. If there's anything else, you're dismissed. Kashi would just nod and say on return, and of course would say bye to the Hokage before leaving. And with that, a month would go by, and throughout that month, Kakashi'd, the next day, on the very next day, Kakashi'd checked her chakra nature and had obviously told her that they would do it twice. Once she's got a decent control over her affinities, her chakra nature or natures, to reveal any sub-affinities. And she said, sub-affinities? What are they? Well, if you've got, if only maybe 1 or say 2 affinities show, and they are incredibly strong, they can actually hide what us ninja kind of call sub-affinities. Those are affinities that are a lot weaker and don't initially show up in the first try around. And the reason why it takes we do it again is to, after you've got some control, is so that you can, when you're channeling chakra to that, feel for, say that, obviously for, say, those natures going into it and pull them back out to obviously reveal any hidden affinities. Any sub-affinities. That would just go, I see, and brush it on chakra into the piece of paper, and it split in 2 quite violently and had pretty much drenched her hands in water as well, which meant she had a very strong wind and water affinity. Which Kakashi then obviously said, see, those 2 affinities right now, wind and water, they are incredibly strong, and as such you may very, very much have a sub-affinity. And 2 weeks, and she'd guessed she may have wind affinity. And if you're curious, where she got her wind and water affinity from, her wind affinity comes from her mum and her dad, so Minto and Kushina, and actually the fox. Her water affinity came from her mum being an Uzumaki, and those genes being active while she has red hair. I think she has ruby red hair. Anyway, yeah. With obviously her Uzumaki genes being fully active instead of dormant, she'll have water as an affinity as well, and a very strong one at that. And and as I stated, the fox also has a wind affinity, while the fox is a wind and fire. So yeah, 2 weeks later, and she'd channeled chakra into the paper again, showing that she also had in fact had a fire affinity that came from the fox. And maybe Minato or Kushina, whichever one. I don't think neither of them had a fire affinity, but if they did, then obviously with the fox it boosted it enough that it was just barely visible on the paper. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, and of course she had trained in them, and a month later, as I've said, as I stated, they'd completed 100 D ranks, and she'd also mastered both her wind and water affinities, and was halfway through level 2 of fire, of controlling her fire nature. And yeah, of course she'd learn, so jutsu stats she'd of course learn. She'd learn how to do so wind style great breakthrough, and wind style vacuum bullet, water style water bullet, and water style water wall, and fire style fireball, and fire style phoenix flower jutsu. And yes, of course she'd asked Kakashi if she could train in earth and lightning as well, though Kakashi had stated maybe after she'd finished mastering her wind and water and that. And yeah, and so sometime maybe a month or two obviously down the line, of course now she already's mastered it. And yeah, so they'd somewhat start getting into it, though. Firstly, their mission, or what they're going to be doing today. So Naruto and Kakashi would arrive at the Hokage Tower as Kakashi had somewhat planned on. Well, I told her yesterday that due to the fact they'd completed their 100 D ranks, and it was the last day of the month, that they would be, tomorrow they'd be taking their C rank. So if possible, pack for a month, so that we can get there. We can obviously take the C rank and go if possible, or maybe if we have a client, wait for a client, and then obviously off we go. We're not gonna have to wait either an hour or that for one of us to pack. Naruto just said okay, and yeah. So she was already ready to go. Yeah. Anyway, they would go to the Hokage's office. And yeah, they would of course arrive. Well, not the administrator's mission. Well, the mission room inside the Hokage Tower. And they would enter, and of course Hiruzen would somewhat be there. Hiruzen would smile at them and go, Naruto, Kakashi, what do you plan on doing today? Do you plan on taking your first C rank mission, or do you plan on taking another 4 D ranks today? And yeah, Kakashi would somewhat smile and go, well, Hokage-sama, today I would like to request our first of hopefully many C rank missions we can do. Hiruzen would somewhat nod and go, and I actually have the perfect one here. Kakashi. Kakashi would somewhat nod and go, well, what is it? You'll be escorting a bridge builder named Tasner back to his home in the land of waves, and to protect him as he finishes construction of his bridge. Kakashi would then go, Kage-sama, can you have that mission on pause for a second? I want to tell Naruto something. Okay, sure, Kakashi. Kakashi would then somewhat leave the administration building with Naruto. As Naruto would look at Kakashi a bit curious. She knew this was obviously the mission that she'd finally be able to meet the Fox again, hopefully. And she'd obviously fought against what's his name? Haku and Zabuza. Haku and Zabuza. And yeah. And Kakashi would look at and go, Naruto, I haven't exactly told Hokage-sama this, but around because we've been a team for a month now, I'd say 2.5 months ago. Naruto. So before I knew, of course, I was rated to be a genin, I was obviously a genin sensei, though I had no genins under my control. You're the first person I've taken. Anyway, past. Anyway, yeah, 2.5 months ago, Hokage-sama had given me a mission, and on the way back I'd thought, I'd stop at the Land of Waves, as a year before that mission I'd stop there, and it was somewhat okay, and I thought I'd stop there again to see obviously how the place was doing, and while it was somewhat kind of in bad shape, and yeah, so I've got a feeling that this mission is B rank, if not A, but it's definitely B rank for sure. So if we take this mission, we're taking this, we're pretty much probably going to end up somehow in some type of situation where we'll probably end up saving the Land of Waves from like Gato, because surely Gato's going to hire Ninja, and he's probably very much going to hire either a B or A rank missing Nin, maybe even S rank. So yeah, and if this does become an S rank, I'm asking for backup, but if this becomes obviously an A rank, I'm strong enough, and obviously you can also help out as well. So I just want you to know this is very much a B rank, if not A rank mission, Naruto. So do you want to take this? Naruto wouldn't even have to think, should go, yeah, of course, Sensei. If this mission this mission pretty much means that we would be saving Land of Waves, yes. Yeah, of course, it would be mean to not take it and let them continue to spiral into destruction. So yes, of course, let's take it. Let's save the land. Let's save the Land of Waves and become heroes at the same time. Yes, it would chuckle. It would a chuckle like that, and would someone not would re-enter the administration building and would say that they would take the mission. Izumi would just nod and would look at Kakashi and think, he knows something he's not telling me. Oh well, after the mission's over, it will probably only take them a week or two, and when they come back, I can ask Kakashi what that thing was all about. Anyway, so yeah, he'd of course shout out, bring in the bridge builder. A minute or so later, Tazuna would somewhat enter, of course drunkenly, though he would make no comment on Kakashi or Naruto, as they'd be somewhat standing ready to almost ready to take a life, which of course would make that Tazuna would very much not comment on only having two as his guys, as he could somewhat at least feel from them that they were probably more than strong enough to handle. So yeah, so Tazuna would then go, so you're the people that are escorting me back to my home in the Land of Waves, are you? They would somewhat look at him, and Naruto would be pinching her nose, so she just trying to not smell pretty much the smell of booze that was just pouring off of the guy, and they would somewhat just nod. As Kakashi would then say, what's the fastest that how soon, obviously, say, can you get ready, as we're already ready, so somewhat just obviously up to you. And the bridge builder go, give me 10 to 15 minutes and I will be ready then. Okay. They would both nod, and Kakashi would turn to Naruto and would tell him to meet him at the front gates in around 15 minutes. Naruto would just nod, and Kakashi would also tell her to, obviously, if there was anyone important, say, to her or that, to obviously tell any of her friends or any of her precious people that she would be gone for maybe a month, for a month. Naruto would just nod at that, and Kakashi would then tell her, would obviously tell her to, say bye, and that they would meet back up in 15 minutes. After they would then leave, and 12 minutes later, Naruto would be at the front gates. As you'd know, I sense it would be probably here any second now, and 10-15 seconds later, Kakashi and the bridge builder would arrive. And with that, they would set off. And hours would go by with nothing really exciting would kind of happen. Then all of a sudden, as Naruto as they would walk along, Naruto had somewhat kind of lost in her own, not exactly lost, but it was just going in my trying to think how this mission could be obviously difference between her previous life and now, and obviously what was going to happen. Like, obviously only being her and Kakashi, what would be different? Could this mission be S rank? Like, or would it only be a B rank mission? She wasn't sure. Then all of a sudden her head would somewhat jerk out, and she'd go to Kakashi. She would go sensei 20 kilometers out to ninja with tuning reserves are under a genjutsu. Kakashi would just somewhat non-go their status. They are alive, and I'm not 100% sure if they are friend or foe. Kakashi would somewhat nod. Again, obviously, she's a sensory type. She's got the mind's eye of Kaguya, one of the more common Genkai of the Uzumaki clan. And of course, if she's not really focusing, she has a 20 kilometer radius. If she concentrates on sensing, then she can spread out to 30 kilometers and have it still pinpoint. And she can expand that to double the size, make it 60 kilometer, so a 60 kilometer radius, though she loses at that point pinpoint accuracy. But still, it's still quite accurate. And obviously that's if she's very much obviously concentrating in finding someone. So yes. Anyway, with that explanation out of the way, another couple of minutes to an hour or two would go by as they would finally reach the thing, and Kakashi would see a puddle and would look at Naruto, and Naruto would simply nod, which would obviously tell Kakashi that yes, this is, because Kakashi looked at her, and the look had pretty much asked, is this the genjutsu you was on about? And Naruto nodded and just said, yes, it is. There are two people in there, two possibly tuning level ninja, and obviously them being in a genjutsu meant they were foe, they were enemies. They were either nin or missing nin, or ninja or nin or nuke nin, missing ninja. And they would they would somewhat walk past like they hadn't noticed it, and obviously the demon brothers would, of course, dispel the genjutsu and would go after Kakashi first. Kakashi would jump up, and obviously the demon brothers would somewhat stop, though the train would carry them forward. Obviously go forward because they'd thought they'd gotten Kakashi, though Kakashi had managed to jump up in the nick of time. They were outside of that view, so when they'd stopped, the chain had swung forward and planted them into the ground. And yeah, by the time they'd managed to pull themselves back up, well, that was it. They were dead. Their heads chopped off. Naruto and Kakashi chopped their heads off. And this was Naruto's first kill. Even in her previous life, she didn't really kill, and she didn't really consider herself killing what's his name? Madara, as Madara was already considered dead. So yeah. And as such, and obviously those Satsu things weren't really people, so she really in fact was somewhat her first kill to what she could remember, and was starting to hyperventilate. She was going into a panic attack. Then she'd felt a hand on her head and it flinched slightly, though it calmed her down as Kakashi was rubbing her head in a somewhat affectionate way to calm her down, and yeah, once her breathing turned to normal, she'd turned to Kakashi with tears in her eyes, and Kakashi said, "There, Naruto, it's okay, but I know, and killing's no fun, but think about this. Don't remember Naruto that they were missing Nin, and they have done bad things, and think about this. If they did manage to kill me and they'd managed to kill Kazuna, they probably wouldn't have killed you first due to the fact you, well, being a gal, they probably would have somewhat golf a bit, well, rape you, and then maybe they would have killed you, or they may have kept you alive and had used you as their plaything. So remember that, Naruto, that some people just have to die. Some people can be saved, and some people just have to die. There's no saving them. Naruto would just somewhat nod, and yeah, though after a bit they'd continue, though Kakashi would obviously very much tell Tazuna off, and that they should very much go back, though due to the fact he already knew this mission would be B rank if not A rank, and he's now damn sure this is an A rank mission. They were demon brothers. Of course he'd sealed their heads away, and they told Naruto on the way back from mission completion they were stopped by a bounty house to give them the heads of the demon brothers, and to get the bounty, and they would then split that money 50-50 with them, with each other. Naruto would just nod, and yeah, and they would obviously continue to head out. And yeah, Kakashi would look up to the sky and would see that the sun was already starting to set, and would think like they've got another maybe 3 to 4 hours before night. And so he would look to Tazuna and go, Tazuna-san, how much longer until obviously we get to the land of waves and to your home? Tazuna would think for a bit before saying, at least another maybe half an hour. And Kakashi would just go, okay, perfect, we won't have to set up camp at all. yeah, Naruto. Oh yeah. And that's with that. They'd somewhat continue. 5 or so minutes later, they'd arrive at the place where they'd get onto the boat, and with that, they would head off. And yeah, after maybe half an hour on the boat, yeah, it's like 20, 30, 40 minutes on the boat, they'd arrive at the land of waves. And yeah, with that though, they would then obviously get off. Tanzan would say obviously thank you for taking them across, and you'd say no problem, Tanzan, just make sure you get that bridge done. You're really doing something for the rest of the people, for us here. Tanzan would just nod, and he would go off, and they would continue on. Naruto would look at Kakashi though, and Kakashi would already nodded, as when they were coming in, Naruto had picked up, well, of course, all the civilian chakra signatures, but had picked up 2 familiar chakra signatures, though, those 2 being Haku and Zabuza, and they'd already told Kakashi that there was an A rank, there was a Jonin level, there's a Jonin and possible Chunin, level reserves on wherever they go, land waves. And yeah, Kakashi knew the Demon Brothers only followed Zabuza, and thus it meant that Zabuza was there, and it told her as such that obviously the Demon Brother, like Naruto, when we faced the Demon Brothers back in Land Fire, well, the Demon Brothers only follow, or at least only listen to, one person, and that is Zabuza Momochi, the Demon of the Hidden Mist. Though he's a Nuke Nin and has been for quite some time now, ever since he tried to kill the Mizukage. I think that's right, is it? The Mizukage he tried killing, and had failed, and had obviously been then marked as a missing Nuke Nin, and he was obviously Jonin. So yes, A rank missing Nin, so this just went from B to A rank. And yeah, and Naruto said, so the roughly tuning level reserve person was probably some person with Zabuza, and Kakashi could only somewhat nod that it must be. And with that, yeah, so when they of course walked through, when they were walking through, that was keeping track of that, sensing obviously the tuning following them. The second they'd gotten in there, that the tuning had followed them, and they'd told Kakashi as such. Had done the Anbu hand signs, as Kakashi taught her how to somewhat talk, how to obviously how to talk with him in Anbu, and with using the Anbu Black Ops hand signs to communicate to one another, and they'd communicate to Kakashi using the hand signs that there's a tuning behind us. There's a tuning slightly behind us, to beside of us, a half a kilometer away, following us. Kakashi had said back, okay, got it, understand. And obviously just to keep track of the 2 chakra signatures, Naruto said okay, and that's what she had done. And yeah, of course, eventually though, Naruto's own keen ears would pick up a slight kind of whistling sound, I guess. As she'd obviously tell, hey, Sensei, there's a slight whistling sound getting louder and louder. Kakashi would then obviously somewhat stops, and that's so turns her as Kakashi, after a second, would pick up and he'd go wide-eyed as they'd both say "get down" in in near unison, as Kakashi would pretty much drag Tarzan down with him, and Naruto herself would hit the deck as the blade would fly overhead, and Kakashi and Zabuza would then appear on top of it. As Kakashi would look up and go, Zabuza Mochi, demon of the hidden mist. What an honor to meet you, Kakashi would say with his with practically dripping sarcasm. As the Zabuza would go, Kakashi the copycat nin, so-called rumor to had copied 1,000 jutsus. Wow, what a pleasure to meet you too. Zabuza would say with just as much sarcasm, dripping as Naruto then would say, hey, cow person boy, whoever you are, tell your little buddy, whoever's following us, to come out. Otherwise, I'll go in and kill the person. So would then, Zabuza would then look down and would be somewhat surprised that she'd managed to obviously find Zabuza. No, I'd managed to sense Haku, and then had then somewhat cursed to himself, Uzumaki, somewhat cursed to himself to the heavens even, as, yeah, sure, this was a Genin Uzumaki, but, well, yeah, even they, and if this one knew any of their clan technique, if Naruto knew, say, the chain, like the Uzu chains, the Adamantian chains, well, yeah, she'd be quite the fearsome person to go against. And, yeah, as, I was somewhat thinking maybe he should just give up, because, well, yeah, yes, in fact, she did have the Adamantian chains, and I'd learned that when she was younger, but had gotten decent control over producing them and using, and gotten decent control and using them, but I didn't send Kakashi yet, as there was no real somewhat need to, and sure, he was a sensei, but Kakashi hadn't. Obviously, they were still somewhat building up, obviously, trust, so she didn't exactly somewhat feel like she had to show her chains off, and, well, yeah. Anyway, Zabuza would then shout out for Haku to come, and that there's 0 point hiding. They know that she's with him. Yes, Haku is now is a girl in this what if. Haku would come out, I was even surprised herself that someone had managed to sense her. She was quite confident in the skills of being able to stay hidden, as this possible genin had found her and had tracked her somehow. Yeah. And, well, Kakashi would go, Naruto, you take the Chunin, I'll take Zabuza, okay? Naruto would somewhat just nod. And though before they could somewhat attack, Zabuza would put up his somewhat hands in surrender and go, if you don't plan on, say, attacking or killing us, and if you let Haku go, I will freely go to your I'll freely go back to Konoha with yous. Kakashi would somewhat be surprised, then he would then remember Naruto's last name, Uzumaki, and would remember that obviously, Tazuna was, not Tazuna, Zabuza was more or less old enough to have known and to heard of the legends of the Uzumaki clan and how deadly they could be, and he'd then go, oh right, Naruto's an Uzumaki, and he'd then click, wait, why didn't I ask her before, does she have the chains? And that if she did and she didn't tell him, well, it's somewhat understandable. Obviously she doesn't exactly know what he's told, of course, Hiruzen about her abilities. Does Hiruzen know she's a seal mistress? Well, nearing a seal mistress. She's maybe a week or two away from mastering Uzu Funjutsu. Now, and yeah, she doesn't know what of course her sensei Kakashi's told Hiruzen. And yeah. And anyway, Kakashi would go, Kakashi would somewhat just nod, and Zabuza would somewhat with his sword would jump down and would hand his sword over to Kakashi. Kakashi would hand over to Naruto, which would seal it away in a spare sealing squad before putting it in her pocket. And then she would write on a quick. She would then pull out she'd then pull out a piece of paper and would stick it to Zabuza, which was a chakra suppressing seal, or in other words, it pretty much turned the chakra inside of them to chaotic, so they had zero control over that chakra. And yeah, so he wouldn't be able to use his chakra at all because it would be too chaotic too. Anyway, though Haku would jump down and would be surprised and would go, but why? And that, sure, obviously Kakashi may be a bit of a challenge, but as Zabuza would actually send the glare to Haku and would say, never. And I repeat myself, Haku, never underestimate an Uzumaki. The last time anyone had underestimated an Uzumaki, well, it was their death. You never underestimate an Uzumaki, even if they're a genin. You underestimate them, you're dead. Haku would then gulp as, well, if Zabuza, who's an A-rank missing, was scared of her, yeah, it somewhat made Haku terrified of what Naruto could possibly do. And well, Naruto would look at Kakashi and would look at Zabuza and go, well, I somewhat know GG enough that he'd probably be more than willing to, say, let you join Konoha. Zabuza would crack an eyebrow, and Naruto would somewhat face palm us out, would somewhat cursed for herself and say, well, you may know him as Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. I'm close to him, close enough that I can call him Old Man or GG. And I can say somewhat, at least, I can at least say get him to at least be able to maybe grant you, yeah, I can at least say get him to at least think about accepting you into adding into ranks. If not, you'll at least be a civilian in Konoha. But most if you do, then you probably at least maybe ask you to train one of us in Kenjutsu. And yeah, and your partner here can join as well if, yeah. Zabuza would think about it before somewhat. Obviously, if he's already handed himself over to them, so if he could be obviously a ninja sort of a different village, but this village, obviously Konoha loved bloodlines and didn't he would be more than obviously fine. Obviously, with even just being able to live comfortably in Konoha, so he'd just somewhat nod and would look at Haku and go, "Well, Haku, are you going to run away or are you going to accompany us?" And yeah, Haku would look at Zabuza and would go, Zabuza, wherever you go, I'll go with you, no matter what. Zabuza would just nod, and Naruto would pull out a seal as well and would place another seal on, would place the same chakra seal on Haku. And with that, they would obviously would then somewhat carry on walking, though Zabuza would tell Kakashi what's his name called? Not Tazna. I can't remember his name. Gato had hired them, and that he highly suggests taking him out. As the second he realizes I've double crossed him, he's going to hire someone else. Kakashi would look at Naruto, and once he didn't want to obviously send her out to do it, he also knew that. And she also knew that. Obviously, Kakashi would, it'd be smarter to leave Kakashi with Zabuza and Haku, just in case somebody else does. But he obviously does hire someone else, and Naruto is of course a lot better at sneaking around. And as such, he'd look at Naruto and Naruto would go, I may hate killing Sensei, but I'm more than willing to kill them. Kill the entire organization before they can move out. Kakashi would just nod and go, and now to presume, and I would presume it's the massive, say, like loaded chakra, and I'm pointing the somewhat direction that way. And Zabuza would somewhat be surprised, and wouldn't really be that surprised, and just nod, yeah, it's that direction. I'd go, well, I guess I'll see yous later. Cash would just say, obviously, be safe and try and come back before dinner. So, Naruto would just nod and she would then head out. And yeah, and with that, they would continue to Mal would continue to walk forward to Tazuna's house. And of course some hours would go, another couple minutes to maybe half an hour or so later, and they would arrive at Tazuna's house. And though surprisingly, though an hour and a half later, they'd hear a knock at the front door. As what's her name? It's either Tasmi or Tsunami. Tell me which one it is in the comments down below, guys. Anyway, she was going to go and open the door, but Kakashi had stopped her and had said that he would be better, as obviously he's a ninja and there could be someone out there wanting to obviously kill her or that. She just somewhat nodded, and Kakashi went and opened the door, and it's like, Naruto, well, you're on time. I'm actually about to have dinner in around half an hour. Naruto would somewhat just nod, though Kakashi could very much see that she was probably ready to just break down crying right then and there. So Kakashi would look at them and go, it's just my and somewhat adjusted for Naruto to come in and had introduced her. And after that, though, Kakashi had said to Tazumi that who'd be they'd be somewhat outside for the moment. So he'd just somewhat nod, and those two would walk outside. Naruto and Kakashi would walk outside, and in the second they somewhat sat down, Naruto had just flung her hands around Kakashi, cuddling him, as she then started crying, as the feeling of obviously guilt was overwhelming, slaughtering all those people. Sure, they were all obviously thugs and mean people who've probably done who knows what to how many people, and that. And obviously she'd mainly sent her clones in. She'd sent all her shadow clones in, though she'd killed Gato personally. And though half an hour or so would go by as Tazumi Tsunami would come out and would call them that dinner is ready. And after that, though, they'd eat dinner, and the next day, Kakashi, Naruto, Haku and Zabuza would, Haku and Zabuza could only go with Kakashi, and obviously Kakashi and Naruto would go with Tazuna, mainly someone to protect them just in case some jerks, or obviously she didn't know, they didn't exactly know if Gato had any other people under him who may want to try and obviously kill him, to follow through and somewhat try and obviously kill them for revenge or something like that. Though she was pretty damn sure she'd killed everyone there. And obviously all the money that Gato had stolen and she'd taken all of that and sealed it in scroll, and was, once the bridge was built, was going to obviously give it to Tazuna, just obviously kind of unseal it, and Kakashi would probably obviously taken off for the A rank mission, and they'd then obviously go off. Anyway, though with obviously zero threat from, or possible zero threat, a week or so would go by as, yeah, of course, Inari had probably said the same thing that he'd done in canon, that she didn't know what, obviously, paintballs and whatever, though. Before he could run away, she'd grabbed his arm and stared at him and said, "You're just lucky you have parents. I don't have no one. I have very little friends and no parents. So feel lucky you have loved ones to come home to, brat." And he just stand there, kind of stunned, as she'd somewhat told Cassie that she was going out for a breather. Cassie just nodded, and a minute or so later, they heard a massive boom. Cassie's Zabuza and Haku had shot out, thinking they were under attack, and when they came to the sound of the boom, Naruto just kind of it went out hopefully far enough, and they just punched the ground, channeling chakra in such a way to enhance her fists. Enhanced the fist to the point where she just whacked the ground in frustration, and it caused a good 15-20 meter crater into the ground. She was angry, mad, ticked off, and at them seeing a massive crater, and Naruto just there with a fist implanted in the ground, they quickly realised why there was a massive explosion. And Cassie had also realised that Naruto was very much strong, though Cassie had asked why didn't he, that when they were spelling how come she'd held back, she'd looked at Kakashi still being ticked off and saying, "Don't make me laugh, I wasn't. If I barely ever amplify my own strength, and this is what happens when I do. I don't exactly have great control, stupid, so would you have liked to die? How do you think I would have felt killing my sensei?" Kakashi had somewhat stepped back and had held up his hands, like, "Hey, I'm just..." As Zabuza did, whack him over the head before dragging him away and say, "You idiot. You know she's angry. You don't try to make it worse, you idiot." Before going all the way back and letting her blow off some steam. Anyway, after that, though, she'd fallen asleep out there, though Haku had went out and had picked her up and had brought her back. So, anyway, though, 2 weeks would go by as the bridge would be built, and the bridge, Kazno, of course, remember what Kakashi, that she'd killed, obviously, Gato, and all of Gato's men had decided to call the bridge the Great Naruto Bridge for freeing them from Gato's reign. Though Naruto, of course, never heard of the name and was somewhat, or at least that's what they had somewhat thought, though she had actually made a shadow clone stick into the bottom of the bridge, so when he'd said that and the reason why, the clone had dispelled, and she was already somewhat had a slight smile on her face, because they were going back to Konoha. Once they'd gotten off the bridge, it would be a simple, 2-3 hour, say maybe hour and a half run back to Konoha. And and when they were walking, smile had just gotten bigger, and Kakashi looked down and said, "Oh, what's made you happy?" As she'd then say what the bridge builder had, and the rest of the land of Edge decided to call the bridge, and they had no problem obviously with it being named after her. She was the one that had slaughtered all of Gato's men. So yeah, and well, yeah, with that they'd made it an hour hour and a half later they'd be at the front gates of Konoha with the front guards obviously very much, well, obviously trying to argue with Kakashi that he can't, that obviously Zabuza can't come in. Obviously his apprentice could. Naruto though would somewhat crack her knuckles and would say, when someone look at them, they would look at her and she'd have a somewhat red aura around her, with her somewhat hair slowly starting to fly up into 9 separate tails. She was somewhat angry as she hadn't made contact with the fox. Well, she was somewhat slightly happy, though she was also somewhat sad because she couldn't make contact with the fox, annoyingly. And so, yeah. And they'd somewhat gulped and they'd somewhat walked back, remembering, well, or at least, hearing of Naruto's temper, and they'd put their hands up in surrender. And surrender, as Naruto said, "Do we have a problem here? They are with me and Sensei. If they try anything stupid, I'll make sure they don't live any longer. Got it?" They would somewhat pale and would nod their heads violently up and down. Zabuza, would somewhat just look at Haku and would say, "See what I mean?" And Haku would somewhat just kind of nod, also fearing Naruto. Or at least when she was angry. Though after that she'd then cheer up and she'd then obviously somewhat switch on a dime and would all of a sudden go seem good and go, good then, well, come on then. Yeah. Kakashi and Zabuza would just sweat drop. But yeah, they would then head off to the Hokage Tower. And, well, of course Kakashi had sent a message back saying obviously that the mission had been up to an A rank, and and that they didn't need no backup and they were perfectly fine and all. And he wasn't exactly expecting to now see the demon of the hidden mist in his office. It just somewhat pounded into his head that Naruto, obviously because Kakashi started married somewhat had once said when they were in the office in the administration building getting missions, and once had said that Naruto here was quite unpredictable and was probably Konoha's number one most unpredictable ninja, and could obviously do and could possibly, who knows, maybe one day, and is somewhat tends to somehow do the impossible. And Husen was now truly starting to believe that Naruto very much had the odd ability to do the impossible. And you'd go, Kakashi, do you mind explaining to me why the demon of the hidden mist, a nukenin at that, is in my office? Reviews right now. Kakashi would somewhat nod and would then explain what had happened, and Hiruzen would mull over and go, well, though Naruto would go, please, Gigi, please, come on, are somewhat saying that we don't even we haven't either recovered from the Nine Tails attack or that, and so why not? Like, come on, we know what the hidden mist is in a war at the moment with itself a civil war, like with obviously bloodlines and that. So why not? It was clearly why Zabuza tried killing the Mizukage in the first place. So mine plus obviously kind of her loves bloodline. So yeah, please. It was somewhat that Naruto should do the puppy eyes as it would somewhat sigh as it'd sigh as it'd go fine though Zabuza you have 6 months while a month of obviously while a week or so of interrogation just so we obviously no yeah for information about obviously what he's done, what he's been up to, and what he could remember about the I think it was called Land of Water or Mist. Yeah, Zabuza would just somewhat nod, and obviously due to the fact that Haku wasn't a missing nin, should be placed as here's another thing, and they came back, and I'd like to go while she may be while she may be possibly considered to be obviously a tuning. There's a thing you may know the tuning exams. They would all nod. Even Naruto would go, yeah, what about them, GG? Well, they're coming up in 2 months. And, in 2 months. So, I'm gonna, for right now, place Haku, if you're fine, Kakashi, if you're fine with it, on your team to be a second, obviously, member, and though that's obviously Haku if you obviously want to be a ninja. If not, then it's obviously fine. And Haku would go, I'd like to, and I'd also like to, if you're okay with it, Hokage-sama, would you allow me to also train in medical ninjutsu? His would somewhat be a bit surprised, but sure. Is when your team's not, of course, on missions, and obviously you'll have to your teacher, whoever teaches you medical ninjutsu, will have to obviously go to Kakashi, and they would have to figure out obviously a time for obviously you, so that obviously they can train, so you can train with both your senseis. So you just nod, and Kakashi would go, well, if you want someone to watch him on parole, if you'd like, Hokage-sama, he can crash with me, because he's going to need somewhere to live, so he can crash with me for the time being. And he can also obviously and if you and also of course can be somewhat a kind of second, say, sub-sensei to say Team 7 and can teach Naruto how to use, well, a sword. Zabuza would crack an eyebrow at Naruto, and Naruto would go, what, I want to be an all-rounded shinobi. That also means learning kenjutsu or at least learning, like, yeah, because I may want to learn, I want to learn how to obviously use a sword I'm comfortable with properly, but I also want to learn all of the other swords and learn how to, at least at the very least, how to use basic, how to roughly use them, so that if we're having a battle and the sword breaks, I can easily grab another sword that I may have rarely used and nobody knows I can use, and straight up I would pick up and start using it. I would just nod down that, and that was somewhat a decent idea. And yeah, here's a think about it, I'd go, well, if you are fine with that, then I'm fine with it, though Zabuza, you have 6 months of parole. Zabuza would just nod that he was fine with it, and well, with that, then say, well, you are dismissed. And yeah, and well, Naruto got and right, GG, this is the extra money that is for the A rank mission. Should give who's in the money, obviously the excess money, that would be the money that would have been required for the up-ranking mission. Yeah, Husen would somewhat take the score and would nod. Naruto would then take another score and would give it to Kakashi and go, you know what to do with this one. Kakashi would somewhat nod, knowing that this one held the Kyuubi Kiribatsu Zabuza sword. Kakashi would then slide in, and also on the way back to Konoha, they did stop by a bounty house to cash in the Demon Brothers' heads. And yeah. Anyway, after that though, they went their separate ways for the somewhat day just to relax, and with that I'm going to end it here, guys. So if you have enjoyed this part, tell me in the comments down below, and yeah, I do hope you have somewhat enjoyed this. And yeah, guys, have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are, and whatever time it is whatever time it is for you. And yeah, guys, stay safe and good. Bye.